let us all do we can to build a better future.
So AOC says that climate change activists are winning. GOP failed to impeach the Department of Homeland Security secretary. Immigrants benefit the U.S. and how many Democrats are a no on voting for unconditional aid for Israel. Grassroots activism around a bilateral ceasefire is working. Okay, look. There is some wins, but AOC, this should not be intertwined with the Democrats or progressives. People are just tired of the two-party system. But let's see how AOC is kind of rewriting the history here. Let's just see. Let's just see what's happening here. Hang on, folks. It's a lot to unpack here. One
of the challenges President Joe Biden faces in our current information environment and a Donald Trump media environment in particular is how to communicate just how much this administration, Democrats, and Congress have actually gotten done. It's been a lot. For example, the last 2 years have been the most productive years for U.S. climate efforts ever. We are still not on trajectory to meet our Paris climate targets. But for the first time, it actually seems like we have a shot at making it, almost entirely thanks to the Inflation Reduction Act, passed without a single Republican vote. One of the people who first championed the early version of the climate plan as the Green New Deal is Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Democrat in New York, and she joins me now. Congresswoman, it's great to have you on. You know, one of the things that I encounter, I think, particularly in social media-dominated spaces that where most sort of people under 30 get their news, is there's like a kind of really intense doomerism and kind of negativity that just sort of comes with the media, right? More than anything. But I think it shapes people's views of politics. And when I tell people that like emissions are setting all-time lows, like solar deployment setting all-time highs, like people don't know that we've actually kind of had a pretty good few years on climate stuff.
Yeah, it seems like it almost feels like when you remind folks of that, they think you're being the buzzkill for the buzzkills. But
okay, so I had to let them speak for at least that minute. Okay, I'm so sorry. But let me just explain the situation to all of you, okay? Let's talk about climate change and disasters and everything else, okay? Because everything's kind of intertwined. I mean, let's face it, our infrastructure is crumbling apart. Yes, there are extreme weather patterns impacting our country. And, it's led to many crises happening, such as the Lahaina wildfire. Or, what happened to the people of East Palestine, Ohio, or any other environmental, man-made, or natural disaster that's impacting Americans. The thing is, yeah, people are talking about it, but what's being done to help the people? The people of East Palestine have yet to have Joe Biden visit them. The people of Lahaina got a one-time $700 payment. People of Lahaina will spend it all in one spot, right? This is what you call trying to turn some things that are supposedly good into the overall platform and bring it into the Democratic Party. You're not convincing anyone. It's not 2016 all over again. All right. That great coalition that was built. Yeah. A lot of these environmentalist groups and activists. Hey, what's it like knowing that all these promises that Biden made during the 2020 campaign, he never followed through on. And all what you're getting right now is nothing but crumbs. For Christ's sakes, the Nord Stream pipeline blew up. That's a huge environmental disaster. Man-made too, by the way. And it wasn't the Russians that did it. And the long-term effects from the natural gas going into that ecosystem will forever impact the entire region and all the countries and the ecosystems that are around it. But hey, activism. The activists are doing great.
It is important for us to communicate that we are winning. And this isn't just about a political context. This isn't even about cheerleading the president, although his leadership and willingness to work and make climate a priority is important to note. But this is really about a story of people's movements winning. This is about frontline activists winning. This is about young people,
So when people like Jose Vega or many others confronted you and asked you to do something, especially being against the war in Ukraine, you told him he was being rude. Or wait, what about the time 2021 forced the vote? Remember Jimmy Dore? You were on his show one time. I remember. Remember when you were on Jimmy Dore's show? You used to be on there. And when Jimmy and everyone else was asking you, they even did a live stream, 100,000 people plus tuned in to talk about forced to vote and why you and 14 other members of the squad, the Congressional Progressive Caucus, could form a voting bloc to withhold their vote for Nancy Pelosi. Remember when you were asked by activists for the March for Medicare for All to get involved? Or wait. What else am I forgetting? Oh, that's right. How could I forget? What about the fight for $15? When activists asked you to fight, where were you? And wait, how can we also forget? I mean, this one kind of still stands out. Remember the housing situation? Remember when you and Cory Bush forgot and you had to run before Nancy adjourned Congress? And then you guys were doing a little protests in front of the Capitol building and still nothing was solved. But hey, you had a quote unquote victory, and then you played some music, even though people were still struggling with home ownership, even to this very day.
Like Sunrise Movement, bird dogging senators and making this issue front and center and completely politically unforgettable and politically urgent that we pass the largest U.S. federal climate investment in American history. And that has translated already to nearly 250,000 jobs that have already been created, of 9 million jobs that are estimated to be created in the next several years.
I got to ask you about just the Hill the last few days, because it really has been crazy and weird. And just what you make of the Mayorkas impeachment and the fact that it's the first attempt to impeach a cabinet secretary in 150 years, and they miscounted the votes, and they're going to try again on Tuesday.
Hey, hold on. AOC, now's not the time to laugh, because when you're talking about impeachment, I mean, the impeachment thing was a joke when you guys did it not once but twice, and Trump's still running for president. So this isn't the time to be gloating, okay? I would kind of dodge and like cover your face just a little bit, like, what
do you think about it?
I mean, let's just call a spade here. Republicans are dealing with not their first choice speaker, not their second choice speaker, not their third choice speaker.
Fair.
They're dealing with the speaker that they could get and that they could agree on. And that...
Oh, yeah, you don't want to talk about how forced to vote was an actual thing, that Matt Gaetz proved that it's an effective strategy that you and the squad and the Congressional Progressive Caucus could have done to really hold the Democratic Party, which would have added more credence, would have added more weight to the idea of reforming the Democratic Party, which would have helped out Justice Democrats, Brand New Congress, Our Revolution, DSA. But oh, wait, all those organizations are intertwined with the Democratic Party, and none of you would ever have the courage to do that. So what are you exactly poking fun at here? Because I'm rather glad that it took the Republicans that long, because one, it forced all those congressional jagoffs to stay at their job longer than they should have. It made all you jagoffs in Congress uncomfortable. And number three, it proved that Jimmy Dore was correct, Hard Lens Media was correct, Due Dissidence was correct, Indie News Network was correct, Revolutionary Blackout Network was correct, and all those who stood by was forced to vote. That forced to vote was correct. 15 tries. They did it. And Matt Gaetz got what he wanted. You're talking about the House Speaker. No, it doesn't matter. Matt Gaetz got what he wanted. He got what he wanted through using the force to vote tactic. I paused at this right time, like, gee, kid, you're kind of right about that.
Means an individual that does not have experience in party leadership, that is a relative newcomer when it comes to the tenure of member that you're used to seeing when they typically get the speaker's gavel. And that means that the experience in vote counting is not quite up to the standard that we usually see in a speaker's. You're also dealing with the fact that this is an impeachment without merit. Secretary Mayorkas has demonstrated there is absolutely no evidence for an impeachable offense. It is completely politicized. It imperils the Republicans' own swing district members to force a vote on something so clearly craven and without merit that...
Hold on. She said something.
To the standard that we usually see in a speaker's. You're also dealing with the fact that this is an impeachment without merit. Secretary Mayorkas has demonstrated there is absolutely no evidence for an impeachable offense. It is completely politicized. It imperils the Republicans' own swing district members to force a vote.
Whoa!
the Republicans' own swing district members to force a vote on some.
Hold on. I'm sorry. Hold on. On the off chance, Jimmy Dore, if you see this, listen to this one more time.
Oh, there is absolutely no evidence for an impeachable offense. It is completely politicized. It imperils the Republicans' own swing district members to force a vote.
Force the vote. Oh. Uh-oh.
On something so clearly craven and without merit, that I think you see what happened last night, all of that coming together, and the fact that they think that Democrats owe it to Republicans to give them, you know, their counts, our attendance counts is laughable. It really speaks to the fact that you're working with people who are not used to being in this chamber.
Yeah, they were mad that Nildum told them that Al Green was going to become like wheeling back in scrubs from abdominal surgery. Like you should have given them a heads up on that.
And if you didn't expect Al Green to be doing that, then you don't know who Reverend and Representative Al Green is. He will do that.
He will do it, as demonstrated yesterday. It's a good point. I want to ask a question about something, the Congressional Budget Office. And you tweeted this because I've been maddened by the discussion of immigrants, which basically I feel like the entire discussion is they're coming to take your stuff. There's like only 7 slices of pizza in America, and everyone that comes is going to take one of those slices, and you're not going to have any.
Now, we're going to talk about the migration crisis here. Now, look, here's the thing. All right. What's happening here is a failure at every single level of power from all our institutions, and people, migrants and citizens, are being used by pawns by the top echelon. Those that fought for sanctuary cities, the cities are not designed to take care of the migrants. There was no plan to take care of them. I'm so sorry. And that's not right, because people are suffering and getting hurt from it. And it's also rising emotions in the residents that live in these sanctuary cities. But also south of the border, when you have, again, kids in cages, you hear about the arduous tasks and the miles of these people who are traveling to this country, what they have to go through. And there's a reason why there's a migrant crisis. It's because of U.S. foreign policy, not only in Central and South America, but worldwide. Also, the ridiculous war on drugs. When you cause political, economic, and social instability, when you have the rise of tyrants, dictators, and drug lords, a rational person who's trying to raise a family or just trying to live in this world that's understandably out of their control is going to get up and run. And they hear about this country called America, land of opportunity, as it should be. Then you come here and you're being used as a pawn again. Neither the Democratic Party or Republican Party are innocent in this. They're hurting people. That's the truth of it. People are suffering because of their inaction. And the old guard is giving way to the new guard, and the new guard doesn't give a damn because it's just one big club and you ain't in it.
And the Congressional Budget Office basically said today, look, we're readjusting our projection of GDP growth up by $7 trillion. And also, we're reviewing the U.S. government, money to reduce the deficit by $1 trillion because of immigration, higher net immigration. And you tweeted that being like, guys, we're not talking at all about the net positives immigrants bring to this country. Absolutely.
It is actually completely nonsensical that we do not talk about the enormous blessing, economic blessing, that immigrants and immigration represents to the United States.
Yes, but when you have no system to take care of, when you have them getting exploited, and we have them coming to sanctuary cities where, again, they're not being taken care of, or either that they're living in subpar conditions, and then also at the same time, too, you have city leadership causing their cities to become divided even more so. This is not a good thing. And when the DNC convention comes here in Chicago, I'm very curious just how close a lot of protest groups will be able to get to the convention center. It's going to be at the United Center, folks. And we here at Hard Lens Media, we're going to cover it. But I want everyone to be aware that emotions are running high in this city. It's not because of the migrant crisis. It's other reasons, too. People are angry at the Democrats. And if Joe Biden is truly going to be their nominee, if it continues on like this, you can bet that there are going to be some pitchforks and torches out. Just because Chicago is a Democratic city doesn't mean people are involved in it. All right, just want to let conservatives and other people know, libertarians know, that Chicago voter turnout has been at an all-time low because generations of families have seen firsthand the abuse of the Democratic machine, and there's reasons why this machine is the monolith that it is. But there is some hope. It is starting to crack. The thing is, you need to get people to be enthusiastic about breaking it down. But maybe that's a story for another day.
Of America. And a lot of folks sometimes think that this is just a certain kind of immigrant, right? Like college educated or technical visas. All immigrants that we're seeing, this is the CBO estimate. Yeah. Immigration writ large is yielding enormous economic benefits to the United States. And let's bring this out even finer. If you are a caregiver, if you are a baby boomer, if you are someone that cares for someone who is aging, we currently do not have the economic or social structural capacity to take care of our seniors. And
gee, maybe that forced to vote thing would have been a real good thing to be part of, AOC. Maybe Jimmy Dore and everyone else was right on something. And by the way, Jimmy Dore didn't come up with forced to vote. He found it in the handbook from the DSA. It's a tactic. Brought it to everyone's attention like, hey, this seems like a good idea. Maybe that would have helped, AOC. Just throwing it out there because you and your fantastic friends in Congress have gold-plated health care.
Will increasingly not have that if we, quote unquote, lock up our border and shut down immigration. In fact, the thing that has distinguished U.S. economic performance from other countries like Japan or other, developed economies is the fact that our pro-immigration policies actually allow us to continue in our economic growth, whereas similar countries with anti or more kind of closed border policies experience economic stagnation when they submit themselves to this xenophobic kind of border panic narrative that.
So let's go ahead and just switch things up here because some of the AOC kind of has to know about, because there's a lot of people who are upset. There's a lot of people suffering right now, especially even when we look at how voters are going to be reacting to this because it always goes back to Trump. It always goes back to Trump. Shout out to Case Study QB.
North Las Vegas, zip code 89030. According to the census, the most Hispanic place in Nevada. 7 out of 10 people here are Latino. Bienvenidos. And this is where many spend their weekends.
This is Broadacres. It's a huge flea market, swap meet, music venue. It's been here for decades, and it's really kind of the beating heart of the Latino community here in North Las Vegas.
Mario Alvarez immigrated from Jalisco, Mexico, more than 30 years ago.
There we go.
On the weeknights, he stocks supermarket shelves. On the weekends, he sells old video games.
The Super Nintendo? Yeah.
Alvarez voted for Biden. Now he's flirting with the other side.
Everything's too expensive. There's a lot of people who cannot afford food, rent, gas.
What do you think about Donald Trump?
I think Donald Trump, it can be a good president for the country. But there's a lot of stuff he does wrong. I think he got so much hate for some people that he doesn't like it. He just want to be himself, me and me and me. But as far as
like any other politician, but let's talk about rising food prices. Real quick, we'll go right back to that video again. We'll return even back to AOC, but let's play this.
Rising prices have popular chains under fire this morning. Some customers are thinking twice about grabbing that quick bite to eat.
NBC's senior business correspondent Christine Romans is here with more. Now we care about inflation.
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
now we care.
Oh, inflation. Uh-oh. And now they care about it too because these rich folks, they're just struggling.
Right, because inflation has come for your fast food menu. And frankly...
Oh, heaven forbid, fast food. Listen, drop fast food, folks, okay? It had its time, and I know it's a quick bite to eat, but you know what? Just drop it.
Consumers are fed up with this. As some companies have become more creative with their menus, customers have become much more price sensitive. They just want cheap, and those chains are hearing the complaints.
Once upon a time, a few dollars could purchase a quick meal at a fast food restaurant.
I think people should be able to eat good food without spending much money.
But these days, grabbing a burger and fries takes a much bigger bite out of your wallet.
Why are we not talking about these fast food restaurants going up too? Almost $9 for a Big Mac.
Once home to the dollar menu, prices at the Gold...
$1? $1? What do you think this is? America? Where money means something? Get out of here.
Golden Arches, leaving a bad taste in the mouth of consumers who just want value. Going viral, the Big Mac meal priced at $18 at a Connecticut rest stop.
Oh, AOC, You got a comment on anything like that? Hang on. Let's hear it. This is a bad way to pause her face, by the way.
Fox News, frankly, seeks to peddle and instill in so many people.
Quickly, in the last 20 seconds, I know you are a no on the supplemental for Israel, barring some sort of strings attached on that aid. You said that we're seeing in Gaza a slaughter on a speech yesterday on the floor. How many Democrats are in that position as you? Do you have? Is there a rough count of how many no's there are in the caucus?
What I will say is that the grassroots activism around a bilateral ceasefire is working. And there are far more members than perhaps may be publicly visible that have a lot of trepidation around voting for an aid package that contains A, no humanitarian aid, and B, I think we are crossing the Rubicon here in just no holds barred, completely unconditional aid to the Israeli government. We have Leahy laws on the books that prevent U.S. aid from funding gross human rights violations. And we, I think, are seeing a level of depravity in Gaza that is becoming morally untenable to support.
Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, thank you very much.
Wow. Okay, earth-shattering. Let's return back here.
To bring the economy with the country, I think it would be great.
Do you know who you're going to vote for?
Not yet.
Gonna pause here because of copyright music. But look, you have voters who are leaving the Democratic Party. You have people who are upset with the rise of food prices and inflation. But let's also talk about something else here, too. Shout out to Case Study QB. Pharma CEOs testify on prescription drug prices. Hey, remember when forced to vote was something that people were really pushing for, and AOC said it was violence?
Coming up in just a couple of hours, the CEOs of some of the largest pharmaceutical companies will testify before a Senate committee on the very high price of prescription drugs in this country. The CEOs of Bristol Myers Squibb, Johnson & Johnson, and Merck will all be present for this hearing in front of the Senate Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee. It's chaired by Bernie Sanders.
Now, according to a poll taken in July, 31% of Americans don't take their prescribed medications because they're too expensive. Nearly 75% supporting more regulation of prices. Joining us now is CNN medical correspondent Meg Terrell. There is a reason we noted that Bernie Sanders is chairing this hearing and that these individuals are at this hearing. It is fair to say they likely are not going to agree or get along on anything. What should we be watching today?
Yeah, I wouldn't expect us to come out of today with an agreement that, drug prices are going to come down and everybody's on board with that. But, this has been an issue for decades in this country. People feel like their drug prices are just too expensive to afford. And
it's almost as if, there was a point when the Democrats had a large coalition, especially progressives like Bernie Sanders and AOC, when they actually had legions of people who would actually show up and be inspired. It's such a shame they threw that all away.
Focus today is really to try to compare prices in the United States versus prices in other countries. And the Senate Health Committee actually put out a report leading into this meeting today comparing some of the drugs made by these companies. If you look at one called Januvia from Merck, that's a diabetes drug. You look at the price in France per year. This report says it's $200 per year. If you look at the price in the United States, $6,900 per year. If you look at Johnson & Johnson's Stelara, that's an arthritis drug. These can be very expensive medicines. The price in the UK is $16,000 per year. The price in the United States, $79,000 per year. Bristol Myers' Eliquis, which is a blood thinner, $650 in France, $7,100 in the US. And these are not atypical prices. You see this for a lot of different things. All of these medicines are on the US's list of prices of drugs to negotiate under the Inflation Reduction Act. So these could potentially be coming down, but right now they're very high.
Okay, question for you before we move on to the politics of this. Is that at all because of the amount of taxes that are paid in France and the government paying for more of a drug than the system we have here, or no?
The main reason that prices are lower in countries like France.
The main reason why, hold on. The main reason why, folks, brace yourself, my lovelies. Brace yourself, people. It's going to get crazy.
France is they have a central negotiating power in the government. So,
the companies are literally making less money from selling them in France.
Oh, yeah. They make way more money from the United States. It's by far the most important market for them. And so the pharmaceutical industry argues Americans get new drugs faster than other countries. They say this system actually works better for enough.
So it works better, but your pocketbook bleeds. Remember, there was a time when Americans could go to Canada and get their prescription drugs cheaper, far cheaper. You want to know what our fantastic politicians did in Congress? Did they say, jolly gee willikers, Americans going to Canada and spending less money there so they could live longer and be healthier? Well, we ought to do something. No, they didn't. You know what they did? They made it illegal for you to go to Canada to do that. Where do you think you people are going to get cheaper drugs? Not on our watch.
Number of ways. And so they're going to mount a defense with that in mind. They're also going to argue that the middlemen, like the pharmacy benefits managers, profiteer on the system here, and that contributes to high drug prices. And so we're going to hear a lot of these arguments we've been hearing for a long time. But we are actually at a moment where we're starting to see some change because of these Medicare price negotiations, which we really haven't seen before.
And it was something that Donald Trump pledged he was going to do, never actually got to. And Biden actually did, which stunned me because Trump never loses.
They never
somehow
do.
managed to do it. You mentioned though the negotiation and how that all works is still kind of being rolled out at this point in time. Thanks, Rel. Thanks.
Yeah, hey, great. Yeah. So folks, hey, let's have democracy in the chat. Let's actually hear from you, the people. Are prescription drugs cheaper for you now under Biden? Is AOC correct that right now things are actually improving with the Democrats and activists are actually gaining ground and momentum? Is the economy treating you well? Is everything just working well for you that you're ready to vote for Biden and the Democrats? Type 1 for yes, kid. We got to keep things the way they are because Joe Biden's leading us to a brighter future. Type 2, I don't know what a bright future looks like. Prescription drugs are expensive. Food is expensive. I don't know who to vote for. I'm politically homeless. What do you mean things are better? That's news to me. Where's that headline article at that things are better? I didn't get the memo. I wonder how many 2s will be in the chat, my lovelies, my mornings, my sunshines. I wonder.